is Nuria. I'm the health psychologist, and I also do cold exposure and other of the holistic therapies. I'm a functional breathing instructor as well. And what I do is I bring the clinical, we'll say more traditional clinical way of therapy with the holistic approaches. We integrate it to the therapy so the clients can use both, and we'll help them to understand how they can use it for their own therapy. To me, it's about bringing together the clinical world with a more holistic approach, because I think there is a lot of misunderstanding around what mainstream is and what the holistic approaches are, because people see it as opposite. And what we do here is like we use the more traditional methods, but we integrate them really into the therapy, but for each individual to make it work for each of them, not as a general thing. I'm one of WIM's instructors, an advanced instructor. So what I try to do is to bring the method in a safe way, because now it became so fashionable to do cold exposure, and then people get into contrast therapy, but they don't really understand how to integrate it. So first is the safety side of things, and then is to make it work for each person, because especially when you deal with addiction, people often look for the dopamine high, and obviously the cold exposure is going to give you that, but it's really about becoming more connected to yourself, and do it when possible in a natural environment, and how also use through the hormosis process, like as a way to calm yourself without medication, not relying completely on medication. So it's how integrated to each person in their therapy process. Mm-hmm. During my therapy sessions, I first try to understand what the client needs and what the worries are, because very often they are confused. I talk a lot about the stress, because people identify stress as a stress that comes from work, but what I see is a stress everywhere, like people that are going through illnesses, hard diagnosis, and even just sitting for a therapy session, it can be very stressful. So they don't understand that the stress is all that, the frustration, the anger. It's not just a stress that comes from working very hard. So we talk about stress and how can identify that. So it usually happens very quickly that the clients can identify that kind of stress that they didn't really contemplate as something that it was happening in their lives. So when we talk about the stress and how I integrate all you would say the breathwork, the cold exposure, and other things are more like holistic, how I integrate it to alleviate like the stress that the healing process always comes attached to, and how I integrate it with the more traditional therapies. They kind of, I think they are more willing to try, and it makes sense to them. And then it's obviously gradually, and every person is different, but we start talking about it from the beginning, so they understand how it starts kind of fitting in. Mm-hmm. To me, the most important thing when it comes to someone's recovery is understanding what they really need, and also for our clients to understand how they can use everything we're providing with. Because it's going back to the misunderstanding between mainstream and holistic therapies. So people think that they have to join one side or the other, and we really work well in kind of blending everything in and make it like something that the client can use. And that's what we are about, and that's what we try to implement every day. So yeah, we welcome our clients into Oasis with open arms, and trying to make all these things that we provide with part of the tools they can use when they leave us.